defensive stance. Everyone knows this is not an offensive capability. For anyone who says otherwise, I would just say I have too much respect for the Russian army to think that they actually believe that there's any offensive capabilities. Mata said that the U.S. will deploy only defensive systems to make certain that sovereignty is respected. U.S. officials said the Patriot surface-to-air system would move into the region during the July air defense exercise, but would be gone by the time a large Russian military exercise begins in August and September.
Thank you, Jack. Nations dispute clashes toll. Pakistan, at least 50 Afghan troops killed, 5 checkpoints destroyed. From Quetta, Pakistan. Pakistan said Sunday its forces killed at least 50 Afghan troops and destroyed 5 checkpoints in clashes along the disputed border 2 days earlier, while Afghanistan dismissed the account, saying only 2 border police and civilian were killed. And a civilian were killed. The 2 armies traded fire Friday around the Shaman border crossing, which has been closed by Pakistan, stranding people on both sides. The clashes, which ended after a few hours when local commanders contacted each other via an emergency hotline, marked a dangerous escalation between the 2 U.S. allies. The 2 uneasy neighbors share a porous 1,375-mile border and have long traded allegations of allowing their border regions to be used by militant groups. Pakistani Major General Nadim Ahmad told reporters at the crossing that 2 Pakistani soldiers were killed in Friday's fighting and another 9 were wounded. He said around 100 Afghan forces were wounded. Najib Danish, a deputy spokesman for the Afghan Interior Ministry, said the account was completely baseless. He said 2 Afghan border police were killed in Spin Baldak on the Afghan side of the border, and another 11 were wounded. An Afghan government statement issued Sunday accused Pakistan of unprovoked firing Friday and Saturday. Danish said a woman was killed and 30 other civilians were wounded in the attacks, which forced several local residents to flee their homes. Pakistani officials said the fighting began after Afghan security forces fired on Pakistani census workers and the troops escorting them, killing 9 civilians and wounding 42, including women and children. They say the Afghan government had been notified and given the coordinates of the border villages where the census workers were working door to door. And in a related story, Pentagon confirms IS in Afghans were killed. From Washington, the Pentagon says a military raid last month killed the head of the Islamic State affiliate in Afghanistan. In a statement Sunday night, the Pentagon confirmed the death of Abdul Hasib Logari. U.S. officials said Logari was among several high-ranking Islamic State who died in April the 27th raid. It was carried out by Afghan Special Security Forces in a partnership with the U.S. forces. The Pentagon says Logari directed the March 8th attack against Kabul National Military Hospital, which killed or wounded more than 100 people. Here's Jack.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. This comes from Johannesburg. A species belonging to the human family tree, whose remnants were first discovered in a South African cave in the year 2013, lived several 100,000 years ago. The creature was alive at the time as early as humans in Africa, according to scientists. A meticulous dating process, which had a mix of human-like and more primitive characteristics, such as a small brain, existed in a surprisingly recent period in paleontological terms, according to Lee Berger of Wits University, located in Johannesburg. Berger led the team of researchers who also announced that they had found a second cave with more fossils of that species, including a relatively well-preserved skull of an adult male. The conclusion that the H. Daleta was living between 236 and 335 years ago and had not become extinct much earlier than that, shows that the human family tree was more diverse than previously thought. at the point in the evolution of our species, Homo sapiens, according to John Hawks of the University of Wisconsin. The next step in research is to sort the relationship of these different species to each other, and also their role in our process of becoming human, Hawks said during an announcement of the discoveries in the cradle of humankind, a site near the South African town of Magalishu, where the fossils were found. The fossils were found in the Rising Star Cave system, which includes more than 1.25 miles of underground map passageways. The second chamber, containing the more recent fossil discoveries, is more than 330 feet from the cave where the original discoveries were made. Some experts who were not involved in the research also marveled at the age of the fossils, determined by dating the teeth in these discoveries and cave sediments. This is astonishingly young for a species that still displays primitive characteristics found in fossils about 2 million years ago, such as the small brain size, curved fingers, and form of the shoulder, trunk, and hip joint. Yet the wrist and the hands and the legs and the feet look more like those of Neanderthals and modern humans, according to Chris Stringer of the National History Museum in London. Stringer said there were parallels with the late survival of the species Homo sapiens, also known as the Hobbit, in apparent isolation on an island in what is today Indonesia. He raised a key question, namely, how did a completely strange and small-brained species linger on or in South Africa, seemingly alongside more advanced humans? Richard Potts of the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of Natural History said it was likely that H. naledi, another evolved and persisted in isolation from other species of what was called Homo. Island habitats can occur on continents too, in small environmental refuges that are sustained long term, according to Potts. Yes, on continents is typically lizards, butterflies, fish, and small mammals that are susceptible to separation and isolated evolution, and the effects of that isolation can rise rapidly. Berger said the discovery of a second chamber with H. naledi remains gives more credence to the idea that the species deliberately dispose of its dead in pitch-black caves that are extremely difficult to reach. However, some experts who were not on the research team questioned whether the small-brained species was capable of such behavior and speculated that other ways to access the chambers may have existed in the past. So far, there are no evidence that H. naledi used stone tools or harnessed fire for its own uses.
Thank you, Jack. France elects Macron, former investment banker, as youngest president in its history. From Paris. Ripping up France's political map, French voters elected independent centrist Emmanuel Macron as the country's youngest president Sunday, delivering a resounding victory to the unabashedly pro-European former investment banker and strengthening France's place as a central pillar of the European Union. Macron, who had never run for office before, celebrated with thousands of jubilant flag-waving supporters outside the Louvre Museum in Paris on Sunday night. The European anthem Ode to Joy played as he strode out to address the swelling crowd. France has won, he said. Everyone said it was impossible, but they do not know France. Marine Le Pen, his far-right opponent in the runoff, quickly called the 39-year-old Macron to concede after voters rejected her French first nationalism by a large margin. Le Pen's performance dashed her hopes that the populist wave, which swept Donald Trump into the White House and led Britain to vote to leave the EU, would carry also her to France's presidential Élysée palace. Macron told the Louvre crowd that the Le Pen vote was one of anger and disarray. I will do everything in the 5 years to come so there's no more reason to vote for the extremes, he said. Earlier, in a solemn televised victory speech, Macron vowed to heal the social divisions exposed by France's acrimonious election campaign. I know the divisions in our nation that led some to extreme votes. I respect them, he declared, unsmiling. I know the anger, the anxiety, the doubts that a large number of you also expressed. It is my responsibility to hear them. The result wasn't close. With 4/5 of votes counted, Macron had 64% support. Le Pen had 36%, far better than Jean-Marie Le Pen, her father and co-founder of their National Front Party, achieved at the same stage in the 2002 presidential election. The time is 10:19. Here's Jack.
Very good. Well, now it's 10:20. Make it official.
Yeah.
And that indicates to us that we're going to move from the national, international news to the more local news and state news and city news. And with that, I'll start off with this article that, let me see, it's going to be, about the death of a deputy here. Let me see if I can see it. The inmate accused of shooting 2 Pottawatomie County Sheriff's deputies unlocked his handcuffs from his leg shackles while in the back of an inmate transport van before attacking one deputy at the rear of the van and getting in the van's driver's seat, according to an officer who investigated the attack. Following the May 1st attack by Wesley Correa Carmenati, which left Deputy Mark Burnbridge with numerous lacerations to the head, neck, and arms, Burnbridge ran to the passenger side of the van and got in, according to the report filed by Dan Dawson, who's an investigator with the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. As Burnbridge was running to the passenger side, Deputy Pat Morgan ran to the driver's side and also tried to stop Correa Carmenati. According to Dawson, this is what happened. A struggle ensued during which Correa Carmenati took one of the deputy's firearms and shot Burnbridge in the head. Burnbridge then fell to the floor of the jail garage. Correa Carmenati turned and shot Morgan in the abdomen, and Morgan fell to the floor. At that point, the inmate had taken both of the deputy's firearms. While Morgan was on the floor, Correa Carmenati got out of the van and took the van's keys from Morgan and an extra ammunition magazine from Morgan's duty belt. He then got back in the van, backed out of the stall, and rammed the closed sallied port door, breaking through it and leaving the arena. Burbridge, who was 43, was taken to the Creighton University Medical Center here in Omaha, where he was declared dead a little more than an hour after the 10:50 a.m. attack. Morgan, who was 59, was taken to the Nebraska Med Center for treatment. He was released Friday and attended Burnbridge's funeral service on Monday. Fights between inmates broke out as staff members fled the unit, and some small fires were started, including one on an outside basketball court that sent a plume of black smoke into the sky. The 2 inmates were found dead after prison security teams retook control of the housing unit. Prison or law enforcement officials have not commented previously about how the inmates were killed. State Corrections Director Scott Frax extended his sympathy to the families of the 2 inmates in a press release. This loss of life reminds us of the dangerousness of the prison and the enormous responsibility we have to keep people safe, he said. The release of the death certificates came exactly 2 years after 2 other inmates were killed during a riot at the Tecumseh prison. No arrests have been made in those killings or the deaths of Fitzgerald and Galindo. Criminal investigations are still in progress. A 5th death at the Tecumseh prison, that of inmate Terry Berry last month, recently resulted in murder charges being filed against his cellmate. Investigation into the cause of and response to the March 2nd disturbance by the National Institute of Corrections is still pending, as is a probe by the State Inspector General for Corrections. Bishop was convicted of 2 rapes in Omaha and was serving that amount to a life sentence for them. Galindo was serving a sentence of 12 to 21 years. Bill?
Thank you, Jack. From the front page of the Journal Star, no coast, no problem. Nebraska farmers raising a novel livestock, shrimp, from Diller, Nebraska. A plywood hog gets paint chipped and sun faded from years of exposure, decorates a metal feed bin outside 4 red wall swine barns that sit long and squat along a quiet gravel road in southeastern Nebraska. In the distance, wind turbines spin over freshly planted cornfields. The breeze blowing those massive white blades smells fresh. There is no overwhelming stench of manure. The pigs that once filled the barns have been gone for years. 3 of the barns are empty, but in the 4th is 8 14-foot pools, the kind you would pick up at a big box store for kids to splash in over the summer. All but one of those pools is filled with salty brownish water, habitat for thousands of Pacific white shrimp. It is its own little micro environment, said Scott Pretzer on a recent afternoon as he pulled back a plastic sheet tented over one of the pools to reveal the hazy liquid within. The plastic, he explained, keeps heat, humidity, and jumping shrimp in the pool. He dips in a net attached to a long pole and comes up with shrimp about the size of his palm. In 6 to 8 weeks, he says, the first batch will be ready for sale. It is a novel livestock for a landlocked state, but one that has been slowly spreading across the Midwest as low crop prices push farmers to find ways to supplement their income. Shrimp pools already have popped up in Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, and Nevada. The Pretzer family is the first to bring them to Nebraska, but another operation is close behind them. Dietrich Brenniger and his dad, Stuart Brenniger, plan to begin growing tasty crustaceans at their farm a mile west of Carlton in June. To house their shrimp, Dietrich erected a new building of insulated concrete alongside swine confinements his dad built in 1994, the same year his son was born. If the shrimp do well, we're going to get out of the hogs. We're getting kind of sick of that, Dietrich said. And a new model. People have tried raising crustaceans in Nebraska hog barns before. Retired University of Nebraska-Lincoln professor Jim Rosowski did it in the early 2000s with Malaysian prawns, a freshwater critter that looks like a big shrimp. A handful of farmers gave prawns a try but couldn't make enough money for their efforts, said Dean Rosenthal, who is in charge of licensing and other aspects of aquatic production for the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Shrimp could be different, said Nebraska Department of Agricultural Promotion Coordinator Steve Martin. And fresh and local, the Pretzer family has dubbed their new business Rock Creek Aquaculture. The name is a reference to nearby Rock Creek Station and a historic supply center along the Oregon Trail and Pony Express, and the place where Wild Bill Hickok shot Dave McCandless to death in 1861. Scott is a veterinarian by trade. He still works at Ehlers Animal Care at 35th Street and Old Cheney Road in Lincoln, but went to part-time several years ago so he could take over the management of their family farm. His dad, who lives down the road from the hog barns, technically is retired, but still gets out of bed each morning, visits the farm, and pitches in. The family raises corn and soybeans, but had been looking at options to bring more money into the business. Hogs weren't an option. He wanted his children, 17-year-old Reed and 14-year-old Skylar, to be fifth generations of farmers, and pigs are not the way to get them interested, he said. It was Scott's dad, Vern Pretzer, who first spotted an article about raising shrimp in a farming magazine and showed it to his son. Shrimp don't run you over, and they don't smell too bad, Vern said. Vern said he's not scared to try new things. He's one of the first in Jefferson County to test no-till farming back in 1985, but decades of farming taught him caution, too. He's been there to push the brakes and point out the pitfalls to Scott, who's endlessly fascinated by the aquaculture. Scott did his research. The family visited a shrimp farm in Indiana and signed up for consulting services. Here's Jack.
Very good. Here's some news about craft brewers. Okay. From Lincoln is where this story comes from. Round one of a brouhaha over beer distribution went to the state's 48 craft breweries Wednesday. State lawmakers adopted an amendment to LB 632, which that was sought by craft breweries on a 30-4 vote. The breweries maintained that the change was needed to avoid higher transportation costs on their product and to avoid halting the momentum that has been seen in such small breweries double in number in recent years. What a great day, said State Senator Carol Blood of Bellevue, who sponsored the amendment. We should be embracing this enterprise, not making it more difficult to do business. The heavily lobbied bill inspired a sharp debate about whether large established breweries were trying to hurt the growth of big and small town breweries popping up across the state of Nebraska. There was also disagreement about whether the threat of a lawsuit against existing state law was real or a scare tactic, and the relative wisdom of the post-prohibition requirement that liquor distribution be divided into 3 tiers, namely manufacturing, distributors, and retailers. Here we go. I have to go to page 2, okay, which is right after page 1 about that. Okay. Anyway, moving right along. Under Bond's amendment, an exemption for craft breweries would remain in state law that allows them to ship their brews to retail locations as long as it is owned by a licensed liquor distributor. LB 632, as originally proposed, would have required a brewer to first ship its products to a distributor's warehouse and then ship it to a bar or a restaurant. Caleb Pollard, owner of the Scratchtown Brewing of Ord, Nebraska, called that requirement ridiculous for a rural brewery because it would mean that his beers would have to be shipped more than 175 miles to his distributor in Omaha and then back to outlets in Ord and other communities in central Nebraska. Senator Tyson Larson of O'Neill, the chief sponsor of the LB 632, said the bill was needed to protect the state from a lawsuit. He argued that allowing a break for in-state breweries so they can ship their beer without going so-called at rest at a distributor's warehouse was an unconstitutional advantage over out-of-state brewers. Requiring the beer to be shipped to a distributor, which is required to collect excise taxes, also better ensures that those taxes will be paid, according to Larson and Hobart Rupe, executive director of the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission. Rupe said his agency had to send out 10 warning letters last year to craft brewers about unpaid taxes. If products are logged in at a distributor's warehouse, it better ensures that taxes will be paid and will be accurate, he said. But backers of craft brewers disputed that. Handheld computers should allow a distributor to accurately track shipments of beer, whether they're in a delivery truck at a brewery or passing through a warehouse. Small brewers also complained that they had no say in crafting the bill. On Tuesday, Mike Madigan of Minneapolis, an attorney hired by Nebraska Liquor Distributor Association, told reporters in a conference call that a lawsuit was a certainty unless the bill included the at-rest provision. But Wednesday, Blood and others said that the threat was a scare tactic and that requiring craft brewers to ship to a warehouse would be what was called a job killer. Larson said he might hold his own bill from being debated through this year because of the addition of the pro-craft brewer amendment. If he does, the craft brewers would have won the battle Wednesday. Might have won the battle Wednesday, but might end up losing the war. That's because the Liquor Control Commission already has approved a rule change that requires the at-rest provision. The rule hasn't been implemented because it hasn't yet been reviewed by the Nebraska Attorney General's office and approved by the governor. A spokesman for the governor said he will review the rule once he receives it. The bill isn't just about craft brewers. Other clauses in the bill would require private bottle clubs like the strip club recently opened in central Omaha to obtain state licenses, making it easier to stop such clubs from opening. The bill also includes some protection for bars and farm wineries from purported harassment from organizations that protect music copyrights, such as ASCAP and BMI. So dropping LB 632 from debate would prevent those other provisions from becoming law this year.
Thank you, Jack. From the Journal Star, these aren't your green giant canned peas. The yellow field pea, a legume generally considered a fringe crop in years past, has taken root in Nebraska and is flourishing. Planted in March, the cool season crop has been growing in popularity with dryland farmers who practice no-till in the semi-arid region west of North Platte. On Steve Tucker's farm, pea plants, little more than an inch tall, bask in the sun. It's one of up to 10 different crops he grows on 4,000 acres near Venango, a town on Nebraska's southwestern border with Colorado. Wheat, corn, and soybeans just don't hack it anymore, Tucker said. Persistent low prices for the big three-row crops have producers looking for different ways to make a buck. In search of just the right crops for an area that gets only 15 inches of annual precipitation, Tucker has tried a wide range of crops from fava beans to chickpeas to safflower to okra to millet. Some didn't work out, like the fava beans, but other crops like the yellow peas did work. I've kind of got a reputation as the pea man. It's got nothing to do with urology, said Tucker, who plans to sell his peas as seeds to other producers throughout the Midwest. In the past few years, peas have gone from being planted on only a few sporadic Nebraska farms to covering 55,000 acres in 2016, which is the first year the crop got big enough in this state to find its way into USDA's National Agricultural Statistics Service reports. While peas are on the rise, they are still a far cry from corn or soybeans. Nebraska farmers planted 9.55 million acres of corn this year and 5.7 million acres of soybeans, according to the USDA. Yellow peas fill a niche, said Strahinja Stepanovic, a grant-based educator with University of Nebraska-Lincoln Extension. It's common in western Nebraska to leave fields fallow every third summer to allow moisture to build up in the ground before planting wheat in the fall. Because peas get planted and harvested early, they can fill that fallow void without significant impact to the moisture available for wheat. As a legume, the peas also help fix nitrogen in the soil. What has allowed peas to take off is the development of a market for them. Tucker said farmers planted peas in the 90s, but they sat in bins or got fed to cattle. We planted them and had nowhere to go with them. Here's Jack.
Very good. Here's some news about the voting here a couple days ago. A big voter turnout at a peak time led to long lines at the Baxter Arena polling place Tuesday evening, according to the Douglas County Election Commissioner. Some voters at the polling place said Tuesday night that they waited up to an hour to vote. A handful of people abandoned the line altogether and did not vote. The Election Commission got a call from Baxter's Arena's long wait about 5 o'clock in the evening Tuesday, said Valerie Stoge, who's an Election Commission spokeswoman. The commission then sent additional workers to the polling place to speed the line along. People maybe didn't have the mindset to wait in line for this election, Stowe said. Had this been a presidential election, people may have been prepared to grapple with the post-work rush. The arena's polling place had been staffed the same as other polling places. It wasn't handled any differently. She added, "We of course want the experience to be positive." No other polling places required additional election workers. The commission got calls from people who moved and weren't sure where the polling places were, as well as some calls came from people who live outside city limits who didn't realize they couldn't vote. But that's common in every election, she said. In general, things did go relatively smooth. And this article is about Vinny Palermo. He will be representing District 4. of our city council. With Vinnie Palermo's election to the city council, the Omaha Public Schools will have another seat to fill. Palermo's victory in District 4 Tuesday night means he will have to resign his seat on the OPS board. Wednesday, Palermo said he was working on his resignation letter. I will still be a part of OPS, he said. I'm a parent in OPS, and just because I'm not in the school board doesn't mean I won't be paying attention and won't be involved. After running, Palermo was elected to the Omaha Public School Board in November and sworn in January. He and several other new board members were immediately thrown into the middle of a superintendent search that ultimately ended without a hire. The most important job you have as an elected school board member is hiring a superintendent. And even though that process didn't go 100% to plan, it will still really be exciting to be part of that. But serving on city council had always been a dream, Palermo said. When District 4 council member Gary Gerhardt announced he would not run for re-election, Palermo said he couldn't pass up the opportunity to throw his name in the hat. The timing wasn't the greatest, but it was openly known that the city council seat was my dream job. Once it accepts Palermo's resignation, the OPS board will advertise the open seat and accept applications from people interested in replacing Palermo. The board will then interview applicants and choose one, following the same process that was used when Savona Holman was selected to fill a vacant board seat back in February. The timeline for that process has not been hammered out yet. OPS spokeswoman Monique Farmer said Wednesday, applicants have to live in the Subdistrict 9, which includes parts of South Omaha and downtown. Palermo said he hopes the seat attracts quality candidates. So.
Thank you, Jack. From the Journal Star, judge sets to enter $1.1 million money judgment in Dirt Cheap case. The former owners of Lincoln Head Shops, Dirt Cheap and Island Smokes will have to forfeit more than $1.1 million as part of a federal criminal case against them, a judge has determined. The government had sought double that, $2 million, after a March trial involving the illegal sale of potpourri known as K2. Sharon Elder and Alan Pythman's attorney argued the judge shouldn't award a money judgment of any kind because the jury already ruled that only some of the assets seized should be forfeited. At trial, the U.S. Attorney General's office asked the jury to order the forfeiture of a list of property, including homes Pythman owned, his bank accounts, and his mother's cars, arguing they'd all been bought by illicit proceeds from the sales. But while the jury said the government should keep potpourri, rolling papers, and water pipes and bungs seized during the raid, as well as money and one business account, it declined to forfeit Pythman's house, several of his rental properties, his personal accounts, and his mother's cars. And jurors deadlocked on titles to the land where Dirt Cheap and Island Smokes operated and Pythman's business account. At a hearing in April, Corey Ryman said the government was trying to get a second bite of the apple and said prosecutors could file a civil forfeiture case instead if they wanted it. In an order this week, U.S. District Judge Richard Kopf said they especially argued that the jury did not return a forfeiture verdict for the money judgment or the great bulk of the especially valuable specific items of property, and accordingly, I should not do so either. I am not persuaded. He said the jury wasn't asked to determine whether the government was entitled to the money judgment, which is the money derived from or used to commit an offense, whether a defendant even still has it. Kopf said the fact the jury did not forfeit valuable items of specific property was no reason to deny the government a money judgment. Indeed, the fact that the jury did not return a verdict of forfeiture for some items does not mean that those same items may not later be used to satisfy a forfeiture obligation otherwise imposed by the law. Kopf decided the government is entitled to $1.1 million, which represents the wholesale cost of acquiring the drug paraphernalia and potpourri, which led to the conviction. He also ordered the return of the specific property that the judge did not forfeit, although He said it would be subject to levies and the like against it. Over the 3-week trial in March, prosecutors alleged Pythman and Elder stores sold packets of potpourri labeled not for human consumption, knowing full well customers were buying it to smoke it. In the end, the jury found Pythman and Elder guilty of conspiracy to sell misbranded drugs, commit mail fraud, receive illicit profits, and structure bank deposit to avoid financial reporting. The mother and son were acquitted on 8 of the 14 counts they faced, including drug dealing, conspiracy, and money laundering charges. Elder, age 70, faces up to 46 years in prison, and Pythman, 38, up to 53. Here's Jack.
Well, Bill, it's probably about time to do our obituaries this morning.
Man, you
It's
got a
about
ton.
11:15.
I think that's a great idea.
So another great idea. The obituary this morning brought to you today by SCI Medical Alert. Medical alert monitoring is 24/7 all each and every day of the year at the push of a button. SCI, your local medical alert provider. Call this number, 402-333-3233, or visit scimedicalalert.com for more information. On to the obituaries, first of all, from the Omaha World Herald. Anderson, Keith E. Anderson, age 66. Ethan Hoffman is supplying the services for the funeral at their Bel Air Chapel. Memorials are suggested to the American Cancer Society, or to the Nebraska Humane Society, or the American Heart Association. Bimmeling, Diana Jane Bimmeling, age 68. Ethan Hoffman is handling the arrangements at their Bel Air Chapel. Booker, Fred L. Booker Jr., age 67. The Thomas Funeral Home is handling the arrangements. Connolly, U.S. Robert E. Connolly Jr., nickname of Bobby. Robert was U.S. Air Force Master Sergeant, and he's age 36. The Belle Memorial Chapel of Ethan Hoffman is in charge of the arrangement. Memorials will be directed by the family. Cotton, I'll spell his middle name, Bhrikiyah. Last name is Cotton Brykiala Marshelli. Born April 24th of this year. He was the Good Shepherd Funeral Home is handling the arrangements. Let me see, there's no memorial shown. Next obituary, Davis, Joy R., maiden name Johnson, 86. Ethan Hoffman is in charge at their Bel Air Chapel. Memorials can be made to the Alzheimer's Association, the Nebraska chapter. Des Hazer, I'll spell that Deshazer. Nathaniel Des Hazer, age 82. The Thomas Funeral Home is in charge of the funeral arrangements. Devlin, Bernard R. Devlin, age 70. Johnny Gentleman is in charge, and memorials can be made to the Sienna Francis House. Duncanson, Bruce Allen Duncanson, age 57. Johnny Gentleman is in charge of the arrangements at their Pacific Street location. In lieu of flowers, memorials may be made to the St. Jude Children's Hospital. Fibbich, Fibich, Marjorie Fibbich, age 81. The Water Mortuary is in charge at the Gretna Chapel. Memorials can be made to the Gretna School Foundation. Fish, Reverend Edward C. Fish, age 97. Ethan Hoffman is in charge at their Bel Air Chapel. Memorials are suggested to the West Hills Church. Grundman, Edna M. Grudman, age 96, of Lincoln. The Hemmings Funeral Home in Auburn, Nebraska, is in charge. Halsky, Clara A. Halsky, age 95, of Florissant, Missouri, formerly of Omaha. The Bethany Funeral Home here in Omaha is in charge of the arrangements. Memorials are suggested to the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. Hanson, Stephen Carl Hanson, age 69. Heaving Hoffman is in charge at their Bel Air location, and memorials may be directed to the family for a remembrance in honor of Steve at the Elks Country Club. Jacobson, Doris May Jacobson, age 95. The Bremen Mortuary is in charge. Johnson, Arnell Johnson, age 85. The Woodard Mortuary is in charge. Memorials may be directed to the family. Crazy, Raymond J., known as Ray Crazy, age 92, of Fremont, Nebraska. The Mosser Memorial Chapel is in charge of the arrangements. Memorials may be directed to the First United Methodist Church or the North Bend Central Foundation. Kroyman, Kroymann, Stephen Ray Kroyman, age 56. The Rathway Funeral Home is in charge of the arrangements. Memorial may be made to the family. They'll help establish a scholarship fund in Steve's name through the Elkhorn Pacific School Foundation. Ladd, L-A-D-D, Buddy L. Ladd, born in 1926. Even Hoffman is in charge at their Bel Air Chapel. This one is Malcolm, Kimberly Lila Malcolm, age 3. Even Hoffman is in charge at their Bel Air Chapel. Memorials will be directed by the family, or you may donate to an internet address here, www.ucaring.com/Kimberly Lee Malcolm. McCallum, Richard Daniel McCallum, age 68. The West Lawn Hillcrest Memorial Funeral Home is in charge, and memorials to be directed by the family. Needham, Richard F., known as Bud Needham, age 84, of Council Bluffs. The Colonel Nehemiah Woodring Funeral Home in Council Bluffs is handling the arrangements. Memorials may be made to the St. John Lutheran Summer Camp Fund. O'Brien, Richard J. Dick O'Brien, age 89. A gentleman is in charge. Pixus, I'll spell it Pikschus. Horst John Pixus, age 55. The Colorado Nehemiah Woodring Funeral Home is in charge. That's located in Council Bluffs. The family will direct memorials. Pryszany, I'll spell Prysiazny. James S. Pryzlasny, age 61. Even Hoffman is in charge at their memorial at their Bel Air Chapel. Memorials will be directed by the family. Palverti, Rhea M. Palverti, age 84. The West Lawn Hill Hillcrest Funeral Home is in charge. Memorials may be made to the Alzheimer's Association. Regan, James M. Regan, age 75. The Forest Lawn Funeral Home of the arrangements. Memorials are suggested at the Omaha Youth Hockey or the Brighton Area Hospice, located in Brighton, South Dakota. Robbins, Carol Robbins, age 80, of Louisville, Nebraska. The Fusaman Island Harvey Funeral Home, located in Louisville, is in charge of the funeral arrangements. Memorials are not shown here. Roberts, Susan E. Roberts, age 58. The Bethany Funeral Home is in charge. Arrangements are pending at this time. Simons, Dorothy May Simons, age 89, of Council Bluffs. The Cutler O'Neill Meyer Woodring Funeral Home in Council Bluffs is in charge. Memorials can be made to the Epworth Church and Mom's Place, spelled M-O-H-M''S, Mom's Place. Okay. Skelton, Helen L. Skelton, age 99. The family would like to direct memorials to the Notre Dame Sisters here in Omaha in honor of Sister Mary, in honor of Sister Christine Elias. That's what it reads, okay. Stanland, Thelma M. Stanland, age 102. Evie Hoffman is in charge at their Bel Air Chapel. Memorials can be made to the NSMO, which stands for the Nebraska Summer Music Olympics, in care of Sandy Bach, who is located at 501 South 51st Street here in Omaha. Or a memorial can also be made to the Little White Dog Rescue Incorporated. Swanson, Robert N. Swanson, age 75. Johnny Gentleman is in charge. There will be complete notice later on. Van Sant, Leonard P. Van Sant, age 92. Johnny Gentleman is in charge at their 72nd Street location. Memorials can be made to the Eastern Nebraska Veterans Home in Bellevue, Nebraska. Widener, Elton J. Widener, age 85. The Riceman Funeral Home is in charge of the arrangements. Memorials can be made to the church parish center or the Franciscan Center at Newcastle. Next one, Wells. Wells Joanne, known as Judy Wells, age 55. The West Lawn Hillcrest Funeral Home is in charge of the arrangement. Memorials should be sent to the family. Wharton, Thomas E. Wharton Sr., age 88. Evie Hoffman is in charge at their Bel Air chapels. Memorials are suggested to the Mount Calvary Lutheran Church. The last obituary from the Omaha World Herald, Wise Carver, Marjorie Curtis Wise Carver, age 98. The Evie Hoffman is in charge at their Bel Air location. Memorials can be made to the First Covenant Church. And those are the obituaries from the Omaha World Herald.
Thank you, Jack. Here are the deaths and funerals in the Journal Star, and the first is Robert L. Biggs. They called him Bob Biggs of Fairmont, Minnesota, passed away May 6th, born in Palmyra, Nebraska. Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home is listed. Bodie, B-O-D-E, Richard L. Bodie, age 77, of Lincoln, died May 8th, born March 1940 in Chanute, Kansas. Arrangements by Laubermore Funeral Home, friend. Boyles, Ricky Lee Boyles, B-O-Y-L-E-S, born May 1957, passed away May 10th, age 60. Brodhagen, Sharon Ann Brodhagen, age 71, of Lincoln, passed away May 9th, born August 1945 in Fort Rucker, Alabama. Memorials to the Capital Humane Society, and Roper and Sons is listed. Brunsman, Robert J., they called him Bob Brunsman, age 48 of Lincoln, passed away May 8th, born March 1969 in Manchester, Iowa. Memorials to the University of Houston, College of Engineering, and Roper and Sons is handling. Schmelka, Larry A. Schmelka, age 70 of Bruno, died May 9th. Crackle Funeral Chapel, David City is listed. Dismeyer, D-I-S-S-M-E-Y-E-R, Laverne L. Dismeyer of Beatrice, born October 1936, passed away May 8th, age 80. Flynn, Earl F., they called him Sonny Flynn, age 87 of Lincoln, passed away May 9th, born August 1929 in Columbus. Memorials to the family in lieu of flowers, and Bathurst Mazer and Love Funeral Home is handling. Fuller, Melvin L. Fuller, born December 1927, passed away May 7th, age 89. Gravel, Victor J. Gravel, age 87 of Lincoln, formerly of Seward, passed away May 9th, born June 20th, 1929. Memorials to the Seward United Methodist Church Foundation and Zabka Funeral Home, Seward, is listed. Griepenstro, G-R-I-E-P-E-N-S-T-R-O-H, Adele, L. maiden name Gansel, Adele Griepenstro, age 97 of Nebraska City, passed away May 7th. That's Goody Mortuary. Grundman, Edna Margaret Bolkin, maiden name, and Grundman, born on a farm southeast of Talmadge on December of 1920, passed away at the age of 96. Services are entrusted to Hemmingson Funeral Home, Auburn. Goodiker, Elsie Goodiker, born May 1925, passed away May 6th, age 92, Lincoln Memorial Park Funeral Home. Hamilton, James M. Hamilton of Lincoln, formerly of Cozad, passed away May 6th, born February 1942 in Omaha, in lieu of flowers. Memorials to the Alzheimer's Association, and Berryman Funeral Home Chapel in Cozad is handling. Heyer, spelled H-E-I-E-R, Shirley Heyer, age 85 of Lincoln, died May 8th. Born, Shirley June Larson was born the 23rd of June 1931 in Bostwick. And memorials to the First Lutheran Church of Lincoln, to Tabitha of Lincoln, or Lincoln Community Playhouse, Bathurst Mazer and Love Funeral Home is listed. Kastanek, Donna M. Kastanek, age 53 of Crete, died May 9th. And that's Kunkel Funeral Home, Crete. Klosenbutcher, Reggie A. Klosenbutcher, age 63 of Lincoln, passed away May 6th, born October 1953 in Marysville, Kansas. Memorial contributions can be made to the family, and Roper and Sons is listed. Johnson, Lowell Johnson, age 85 of Lincoln, passed away May 9th. He was born October 1931, and that's Aspen Aftercare. Langness, Strelsa, nicknamed Sidney Lee Langness, age 80, passed away May 5th. Sidney was born in New York City, January of 1937. Let's see. Sidney's wished that the donations be directed to the Capital Humane Society or the Cat House, both in Lincoln, in lieu of flowers, and Wyuka Funeral Home is listed. LeBlanc, Eugene, they called him Jean LeBlanc, age 90 of Clifton, Kansas, died May 8th. A massive Christian burial at St. Mary Catholic Church in Clifton, Kansas on May the 12th. McGinnis, Thomas Asa McGinnis, age from Falls City, born April 1926, passed away May 7th, age 90. McKnight, Stephen L. McKnight, born June 1959, passed away May 8th, age 57. Meese, M-E-E-S, Catherine R. Meese of Fairbury, born September 1921, passed away May 8th, age 95. Myers, Virginia A. Myers, age 91 of Lincoln, passed away May 9th, born May 1925 in Dawson. And that is Roper and Sons, with memorials to the McCook Seventh-day Adventist Missions. Nietzsche, N-I-T-Z-S-C-H-E, I hope that's right. Wilbur Nietzsche of Rulo, born May 1929, passed away May 8th, age 88. Overman, Rosemary Overman of Lincoln, born August 1941, passed away May 9th, age 75. Reif Schneider Jr., Henry L. Reif Schneider Jr. of Lincoln, passed away May 8th, born in Lincoln on December of 1962, served in the United States Marine Corps. Memorial contributions can be made to the family, and the Lincoln Memorial Funeral Home is listed. Rolifson, Maxine Mary Wilkinson Rolifson, passed away May 1st. She was born June 1915, passed away at the age of 101. Let's see. Wyuka Funeral Home in Lincoln is handling, and I can't find the, let's see, Mother Love Flowers in our honor. Please send them to someone you love a lot, to a nursing home or church. Ryan, Joseph Tyler Ryan, age 32 of Lincoln, passed away May 5th, born October 1984 in Lincoln. Roper and Sons is handling, and memorials in lieu of flowers in care of Roper and Sons for Joe's Children Educational Fund. Seaman Magdalene Johanna, they called her Maggie Seaman, Seeman, passed away May 9th in Lincoln. Born August 1929 in West Point. Bathurst Mazer and Love Funeral Home is handling. Rybij, R-Y-B-I-J, I hope that's right. Arthur G, they called him Art Rybij, age 60, passed away in Jaunpuri, Thailand, March of 2017, born in June 1956, and cremation private family service. Stack, S-T-A-A-C-K, Kathleen K, and middle name Eleanor. Kathleen, they called her K. Stack, age 91, passed away May 9th in Syracuse. Kay was born in Omaha. Memorials are suggested to the Syracuse Methodist Church Building Fund and the Syracuse Rescue Squad, and Fusselman Allen Harvey Funeral Home is handling. Turner, Timothy A. Turner, born October 1963, passed away May 6th, age 53. Vavra, David A. Vavra, age 62 of York, died May 8th. Memorials may be directed to the family for later designation, and the funeral home is Metz Mortuary, York. Wood, Harlan L. Wood Sr., this is the last one, age 69 of Lincoln, passed away May 9th. Born September 1947 in Lyons, Nebraska. Lincoln Family Funeral Care is handling the arrangements, and those are the deaths and funerals in the Lincoln Journal-Star.
Thank you, Bill. Listener memorials to the Radio Talking Book Network are tax deductible and will go a long way in keeping Radio Talking Book on the air. Please keep Radio Talking Book in mind when memorials are listed as donor's choice or your favorite charity. Donations should be sent here to the Radio Talking Book Network. We're located at 7101 Newport Avenue, Suite 205. Omaha, Nebraska, and the zip code here is 68152. Thank you very much for being a Radio Talking Book Network listener and supporter. Back to you, Paul.
Yeah, Jack and I will be right back.
Yes,
we hope you will be too.
We'll be here too.
Here's Paul.
Thank you.
I hope you heard us. I hope you heard us.
Oh yeah. I haven't got used to that.
No, they tried this.
I'm glad you're.
They tried this baby monitor, but it doesn't work. It's got a problem on it. We ain't no babies, are we? We ain't no babies.
Well, was the equipment? I mean, buying it. Did it say something in the mailing that they sent out here this past week? It said something about they were done with that or something like that. That's the impression I got.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, it's all new console, I think.
Yeah, it's must be a lot easier like this than going up and down the.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see.
I didn't realize he was 67.
I didn't know either. No.
No, in this deal that they sent us, they said his age.
For gosh sakes, I guess I looked at it and I didn't. I skim on
I
the
said 57.
Yeah. Doing pretty good.
Yeah. He has a lot to say.
Yeah. Okay, here we go again.
Thank you, Paul. On to the second half of our newspaper reading this morning. Bill and I will start off with the editorials and letters to the editor and move on to the various other sections of the news this morning. I have in front of me an editorial written by Noah Feldman, who works for the Bloomberg View newspaper, I think it is, yeah. It's not a constitutional crisis, technically. President Trump was within his constitutional rights when he fired FBI Director James Comey. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is part of the executive branch, not an independent agency. But the firing did violate a powerful and written norm, namely, that the director serves a 10-year non-renewable term and is fired only for good cause. Only one director has ever been removed from office involving voluntarily. That was President Clinton fired Director William Sessions back in 1993 after an internal report found that Sessions had committed significant ethics violations. There is therefore reason to be deeply concerned about Comey's firing, which has the effect of politicizing law enforcement, namely a risky precedent in a rule of law democracy. And the fact that the FBI is investigating the Trump administration makes that politicization look like pure presidential self-interest. Practice regarding FBI director doesn't go back all that far because J. Edgar Hoover ran the department from 1924 to 1972, ultimately dying in office. Hoover was too powerful and knew too much to be fired. In reaction, Congress adopted a law in 1976 that limited the director to a 10-year term. The law does not place any limits on presidential power to fire the director. Arguably, the law enforcement is so central to the core constitutional power of the executive that it would violate the separation of powers if Congress tried to take away the president's authority to remove the chief federal law enforcement officer. At the same time, however, it's anomalous in a rule of law system for law enforcement to be too responsive to the political whims of the elected executive. It's just very risky to allow a country's most powerful elected official to control the appointment of key law enforcement officers, in part because of conflicts of interest like the one raised by the Comey firing. As a result, the vast majority of well-functioning democracies professionalize the investigation role rather than politicizing it. That has been the unwritten norm in the United States. One might almost say a part of our unwritten small constitution, though not of the written big C constitution. Of the 4 Senate confirmed directors before Comey, all served under the presidents of both parties. 3 served until their terms ended. They voluntarily retired. One, Robert Mueller, got a special 2-year extension. The exception was William Sessions. Sessions, initially appointed by President Reagan, was fired by Clinton after an investigation by the Office of Professional Responsibility of the Department of Justice found that he had used the FBI planes to visit friends and relatives. Clinton tried to get Sessions to resign in order not to have to break President and fire him, but Sessions refused, and Clinton pulled the trigger and fired him anyway. Trump alluded indirectly to this Sessions firing in his message to Comey when he said, quote, "You're not able to effectively lead the Bureau," unquote. This echoed Clinton's language when he said that Sessions could no longer effectively lead the Bureau. By implication, Trump was saying that he has as much right to fire Comey as Clinton did to fire Sessions. In practice, there's a big difference, however, between the Sessions ethics violation, which was documented by George Bush's Department of Justice, and Comey's admittedly high problematic management of the investigation of Hillary Clinton. Comey may arguably have acted unethically by announcing the reopening of the Clinton email investigation shortly before November elections. But Trump didn't say so, and surely he's the last person in the world who would make that claim. The firing of Comey is blatantly political. The bottom line is presumably that the Trump administration knows it can't control Comey, and so it doesn't trust him. It seems to me, for what it's worth, that Comey should have resigned after Trump's election to avoid the appearance that he had politicized his position to the benefit of the candidate who won. I'm not writing to mourn his tenure, yet Comey's act of politicizing doesn't justify Trump's decision to make the firing of the FBI director into a political act. It's a classic one of 2 wrongs not making a right. Whoever is appointed to run the FBI permanently will be seen as beholden to the president who appointed him or her. This will make a decision not to pursue an investigation into the president took politically motivated and illegitimate. The erosion of the independence of law enforcement is thus a blow to the unwritten constitutional form of political neutrality. It doesn't violate the separation of powers, but it violates a norm that in its own way is almost as important.
Thank you, Jack. Here is the letter to the editor from the opinion page of the Journal Star. They call it "Wise Call to Stop Governor's Tax Plan." On Tuesday, Nebraska's state senators made a good decision in not supporting Governor Pete Ricketts' sponsored tax cut bill, LB 461. I applaud those 22 senators who either did not vote or voted no for cloture, stopping this poorly drafted bill. The state of Nebraska is facing such a large budget deficit. It is not prudent to pass a bill that would provide little tax relief for the average working person and that would essentially reduce funding for public education, public safety, healthcare, and infrastructure. These cuts to income taxes would have reduced the funds available and may have forced schools, cities, and counties to increase property taxes to make up for any lost revenue. When the state of Nebraska is already dealing with a deficit in the state budget, it does not make sense to make cuts that would deepen this deficit. Being sensible on income tax cuts will be important to keep our state solid and not end up like Kansas, where tax cuts have failed to create the economic advantage that was promised. We need to be cautious of similar reform. The focus should be on cutting property taxes, which are already high in this state. Again, I admire these senators for their diligence and cautiousness on tax issues in Nebraska, and we should all support and thank these thoughtful senators. That was penned by Sue Martin of Lincoln. Here's Jack.
Very good. There's a commercial. Maybe it is a commercial. Some public pulse letters from the Omaha World Herald. First one I have in front of me is written by Peg Watkins of Omaha, and this is what she has to write. For those who couldn't or wouldn't wait in the Baxter Arena to vote, Voters Talk of the Streets is the name of the article. My suggestion is get an early voting ballot. Simple suggestion is what she says. The next one is written by Bill Gaughan of Omaha and is what he has to say. The year's city elections seem to indicate that most people don't care who runs the city. Omaha has a population of over 450,000, and more than 282,000 are registered to vote, but fewer than 100,000 did that. This is very sad. Do these people know or care about critical issues facing our city? Crime, infrastructure, job creation, to name just a few. For those of you who did not vote, you have no right to complain when decisions are made that you don't agree with. Our founding fathers would be very disappointed in that. And this note comes from Party Docet of Papillion. A little humor here, I think. I was pleased to watch former President Barack Obama's wonderful speech accepting the John F. Kennedy Profiles in Courage Award on Sunday night. In listening, I realized that Donald Trump has turned President Kennedy's most famous quote on its head. Mr. Trump revision is, ask not what the wealthy can do for you, ask what you can do for the wealthy.
Thank you, Jack. Time is 11:20, make it 11:20. We'll move on to today's living and entertainment. And here is Ask Amy. And the headline says, parents wonder about young man's intentions. Dear Amy, our 23-year-old daughter is with her first boyfriend. They have been together for nearly a year, and they have been basically living together. We feel that she is only seeing and hearing what she wants to see and hear, and that this otherwise nice young man doesn't really know what to do with her. Amy, we don't think that he or his family value her. For example, he's going to renovate a house with his father, but the young man's parents have told him they will withdraw their financial help if our daughter is involved. In addition, although the boyfriend acknowledged her recent birthday, the parents did nothing. The list of indignities goes on, and we are hurt and disappointed for our daughter, whom we feel deserves much better. We are trying to be supportive, but it is heart-wrenching to see her basically throwing herself at someone who does not seem to know the first thing about standing up for the woman he says he loves. What can we do to help her? Does this young man's behavior seem like that of someone seeking to make a proper future with our daughter? Are the days of asking a young man what his intentions are they gone forever? Signed, Worried Parents. The reply, dear parents, you can ask this young man any question, including what his intentions are, but really the person you should be asking is your daughter. What are her intentions? Do not promote marriage unless you want them to get married, and it sounds as if you definitely don't. In that case, shouldn't you feel relieved that he won't commit? You should not lead the charge against this relationship or criticize this man or his family. You should only reflect to your daughter what you see as your own relationship values, putting your partner first, building a home and family together, and committing to shared values. She will make mistakes as she matures, but unless she comes to you and asks you point blank, what do you think and what should I do? You should let her experience this relationship in her own way. And the next, dear Amy, after almost 30 years of togetherness, my partner and I decided to finally tie the knot. It was very spur of the moment, and it fell into place quickly. A church wedding with only my groom, his best friend, me, the pastor, my groom's daughter, and her husband, and my brother and his wife, who were visiting from out of town. Since we had decided to keep the wedding quiet, I did not invite my older brother and his family, who live a few hours away. How do I break the news to him? I am concerned there will be hurt feelings, and even worse, that it could cause an irreparable rift. My husband and I thought about sending a printed announcement to our very closest friends and few relatives, many of whom I'm sure already thought we were married. Would I include my brother on this list? I do think that would be the coward's way out. I want to minimize any emotional pain. Signed, a bewildered bride. Dear Bewildered, the wrinkle here is that one sibling was included and the other was not. Don't you think that the brother who was with you on your wedding day would mention this to your brother? You should call your older brother and tell him that you have just gotten married, that it was a very spontaneous thing, and that you wanted to let him know before the news got out. Tell him that you're going to send out card announcement, but wanted to make sure he found out before the people did. If his feelings are hurt, at least you will be on the phone with him versus sending him an announcement, which really is the chicken's way out. And the last, dear Amy, you published a letter in your column from a married couple who signed their letter, Jeanette Franks, PhD, and Richard Baker, MD. In responding, you chose to address them as Ms. Franks and Dr. Baker. How incredibly sexist of you. She is a doctor. You owe that woman an apology, signed disgusted. And she replies, dear disgusted. Yours was among the more polite of the dozens of responses to my choice to use Ms. instead of doctor. In addressing this couple, I adhered to the AP style book for newspapers, which restricts the use of doctor to those with medical degrees. I certainly meant no respect. Here's Jack.
Thank you, Bill. This little commentary about weeds, I believe is what it is from the headline. There has been so much confusion in the garden this spring that I have fallen into a state of hysteria. Here in the garden of Whedon, W-E-E-D-I-N, how it's spelled. Here in the garden of Whedon, we learn by trial and error, mostly error, and an endless flow of bad gardening puns. Yes. As you may have suspected, we are a few plants shy of a full flat. Most of the seeds have been planted and are starting to sprout, but I can't exactly remember what I put where. It looks like Daisy and Wild William are on the same bed. I sigh. Do our gardeners talk dirty? The husband asked. I give him the look. Well, if they are at least they're dictators, they'll keep their eyes on them. Another look, and I shake my head. Still having problems with your impatience, I say. Only because you keep giving me flax, I say. I'm trying to concentrate. Please stop. I guess you get most of this article if you could see it, because like this is please stop, it would be please stop, you know. Yes. So I say what it said, and you have to kind of make your own judgment as to what the word really should be. And he then asks, what kind of socks does a gardener wear? I haven't given him much thought, I say. Garden hose. I ignore him as I am studying 3 rows of lettuce, trying to remember which is green leaf, which is red leaf, and which is butter. I guess thyme will tell, T-H-Y-M-E. The important thing is to remain calm. Romaine lettuce, okay. Well, this will depress you, the husband says, digging around the trellis for the pole beans. What is it, I ask? Global warming. Funny, I say, could you toss that hose over here? Sure, he said, but I think it leaks, L-E-E-K-S. It's time to quit joking around. I say, if you carrot, see, it's carrot, the vegetable, you'll help me. Heard about the iceberg lettuce, he asked? Yes, he was tossed in prison. I ignore him again. What an incarnation is this, I ask. Toy truck buried under the soil as I prepare to plant another pack of seeds. It's windy, I say. Now it's Thursday, he counters. Are you working weed me or against me, I say. I'm rooting for you. Thanks, I say. I always knew we were meant to be, M-I-N-T. Hey, where are you going? He said, inside for a snack. Hasta la vista. Is that your final word? They'll do now. Yeah, get more out of this if you read his name. I try to put in what the word should have been, I guess. Anyway, that's the article from the living section here.
Kind of cute humor.
A little cute humor, yeah. That's it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. I'm sorry. Here's Ask the Doctors. And the headline says, Meloxicam effective on limited basis. Dear doctor, I have suffered joint pain for years. Being prescribed 15 milligrams of Meloxicam has been wonderful. What are your thoughts on Meloxicam use? The reply, dear reader, Meloxicam, Mobic, M-O-B-I-C, Meloxicam is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, which is an NSAID, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. That, like all such drugs, inhibits the formation of the enzyme cyclooxygenase, and that is COX. This inhibition leads to a decrease in the production of molecules that boost inflammation and help the blood clot. There are two forms of the COX enzyme, aptly named COX1 and COX2. COX1 is involved in protecting the lining of the stomach, promoting the blood's clotting ability and aiding kidney function. COX2 is involved in the inflammatory response in the body. Many of the side effects seen with the older NSAIDs, such as ibuprofen, naproxen, and diclofenac, are related to the inhibitions of COX1. The side effects include gastritis or gastric ulcers, blood thinning, and kidney damage. Inhibiting COX2 leads to a decrease in inflammation and a decrease in pain. Meloxicam, at low doses, 7.5 milligrams, inhibits COX2 and not COX1. That means it can reduce pain and inflammation without irritation to the stomach lining or any increased risk of stomach ulcers. Research has found that serious upper gastrointestinal events at the 7.5 milligram dose occur in fewer than 1 in 3,000 people. But note that follow-up studies didn't last more than 60 days, so it is unclear if these rates would hold up over the long term. Further, at low doses, meloxicam may not trigger the kidney problems that the NSAIDs cause. The rates of heart attacks appear comparable to those of other NSAIDs, with a slight increase in risk at all doses. However, when meloxicam dosage is increased to 15 milligrams, the medication does inhibit COX1, leading to a significant increase in the rates of serious upper gastrointestinal events. One study found that while the number of events was less than when the NSAID naproxen, the number of events at 15 milligrams was 6 times higher than the lower dose of meloxicam, and that's 1 in 500 people. Another study showed a greater proportion of people taking 22.5 milligrams of the drug for 12 weeks had a slight decrease in kidney function. This was not seen at the 15 milligram dosage. Lastly, for people on 2 types of blood pressure drugs, ACE inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blockers, meloxicam, like other NSAIDs, may make those medications less effective. In summary, meloxicam works well for pain and swelling. The higher doses do decrease pain for more than 7.5 milligrams dosage, and the medication is comparable to the NSAID diclofenac for both pain relief and decreasing inflammation. I have frequently recommended the medication for joint inflammation, bone bruises, and pain from fractures and tendonitis, and it worked well for the majority of my patients. For older adults, I lean toward the 7.5 milligram dose, but I have recommended 15 milligrams in more severe cases. Some of the latter group have complained of gastrointestinal discomfort, but this stopped when they discontinued the medication. I rarely give this medication for greater than a month, but have had some patients with severe arthritis who have been on this medication for years. I don't know how frequently you are using meloxicam, but if you're using it on an as-needed basis, it should be safe. If you're using this medication daily, you should consider its potential for side effects. 11:33, here's Jack.
Thank you, Bill. There's the Hillary's letters. There's the first one written by or sent to us by Beulah in West Virginia. Dear Hillary's, I've discovered that my friendships have made a big impact on my life and even my health. I'm more apt to get out, go exercise, go dancing, and go to dinner with my friends than by myself. They support and encourage me. When I've gone through a job loss, the death of a family member or beloved pet, or even a car accident, my friends have been there for me, and I'm there for them in their tough times too. My hint is to foster your friendships and stay in touch with good friends. The benefits are many. The love and laughter shared makes me stronger. Next letter comes from Rose, who lives in Pennsylvania. Dear Heloise, I read your column in the Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania Times Letter newspaper every day. My hint is, whenever I dry pillows and comforters in my dryer, I always put in 3 clean tennis balls. They bounce around and keep the contents inside loose, especially feathers. Next letter is written by Mrs. JTB. Dear readers, this hint originally appeared in January of 1971. Eloise, here is a little hint my family enjoys very much. When I have a skillet of popcorn about half popped, I throw in a handful of shelled raw peanuts or pecans. They will parch by the time the corn has finished popping, and you have corn and nuts also. This is Eloise's reply. Popping corn in the stove top ensures that it is fresh and delicious. You can control its butter content, less fat, and the nuts will add a delicious texture. Next letter comes from Elaine, who lives in Charlotte, Florida, Port Charlotte, Florida. Dear Heloise, I made fan blade sleeves for my ceiling fans. I made them out of material and put elastic on the ends to keep them on. I have them on the master bedroom fan, which is over the bed. I also did the kitchen fan the same way, which collect grease from cooking. When I'm ready to clean, I have someone pull them off. Then I wash them and put them back where they were. That's pretty. I don't know. Okay. Next letter, Mary C., who lives in Liberty Lake, Washington. Dear Heloise, I shred a peeled apple or two into a casserole of meatloaf for moisture, sweetness, and to add an extra serving of fruit. Okay, and here's the last helpful letter. Dear Heloise, I enjoy your hints. It's published daily in the Warren, Ohio newspaper called Tribune Chronicle. Here's a safety hint, namely, when it's raining and you are going shopping, to the doctor's office, etc., take a plastic bag with you, and after you have folded your umbrella, put it in the bag so it will not drip on surfaces and cause someone to fall. It also keeps your car's carpeting dry. Okay.
Do you have anything there that I can read?
I got some history. I got history here, right there.
Okay. I'll do about here's
stuff over here. I think.
Nice.
I know that's kind of long though.
This history is great.
Okay.
Thank you. They don't have a lot in the Lincoln Journal-Star.
So yeah, I remember a few times I read
occasionally
it.
Occasionally you run out of information. Yeah. So here's history from the Omaha World Herald. Ability hits the mark where presumption overshoots and diffidence falls short. That was quoted by Golda Meir, Israeli Prime Minister, 1898 to 1978. In 1927, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences was founded during a banquet at the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. In 1647, Peter Stuyvesant arrived in New Amsterdam to become the governor of New Netherland, which later became New York. 1858, Minnesota became the 32nd state of the Union. In 1937, Spam was registered as a trademark by Hormel Foods, producer of the canned meat product, and probably the most popular meat in Hawaii.
Yeah.
1947, BF Goodrich Company of Akron, Ohio, announced the development of a tubeless tire. 1947. 1953, a tornado devastated Waco, Texas, claiming 114 lives. 1960, Israeli agents captured Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann in Buenos Aires, Argentina. 1973, the espionage trail of Daniel Ellsberg and Anthony Russo in the Pentagon's paper case came to an end as Judge William M. Byrne dismissed all charges citing government misconduct. 1981, legendary reggae artist Bob Marley died in a Miami hospital at the age of 36. In 1985, 56 people died when a flash fire swept a jam-packed soccer stadium in Bradford, England. 1987, doctors at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore transplanted the heart and lungs of an auto accident victim into a cystic fibrosis patient who gave up his own healthy heart to another recipient. Clinton House, the nation's first living heart donor, died 14 months later. 1996, an Atlanta-bound value jet DC-9 caught fire shortly after takeoff from Miami and crashed into the Florida Everglades, killing all 110 people on board. 1997, IBM's Deep Blue computer demolished and overwhelmed Garry Kasparov, winning the 6-game chess rematch between man and machine in New York. And that's today's Living and Entertainment.
Oh.
And here's Jack.
Moves on to money. We have 5 minutes of money. That's all I got to.
There's not much on money.
This would be interesting about the chicken plant over in,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know where it is. It's,
Southeast of Fremont.
is it? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So Costco can have a plant nearby, I guess.
3 million chickens.
Yes,
just
it's
unimaginable. I
Yeah.
don't know how many, that is a month or a day or a.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of shit. Or something. I don't know. Well, anyway, I'll read the article about it. Costco's corporate office has given the go-ahead for construction of the company's planned poultry operation in Fremont. There, I answered my question. I'm going to wipe my eyes so I can read. Okay, moving right along. Site work could begin in a few weeks, and project managers plan a ceremonial groundbreaking for June. Plans for the plant drew heated opposition from some area residents in a series of Fremont City meetings last year. The plant is now projected to open in April of 2019. It would process 1.6 million chickens a week for retail sale in Costco's warehouse stores. Economic development officials touted its potential impact. Costco would invest about $280 million to build a processing plant, hatchery, and feed mill complex. A network of area farmers would raise chickens to be slaughtered there, a system that would generate about $1.2 billion in annual economic impact for eastern Nebraska. Costco still has to secure permits from the Nebraska Department of Environmental Quality and the city of Fremont. Documents on the State Department's website indicate that project engineers and permitting officials have discussed this timeline in which air quality construction permit would be issued in August following the public comment period and public hearing. Costco would also need wastewater permits from the department. The city of Fremont has issued a permit for grading work and reviews for other needed permits are moving right along, said Brian Newton, who is Fremont's city administrator. He said it's typical for a large project to begin without all the needed permits in place. It's just a matter of working with their engineers to get the comments and everything addressed. Jackie Frank, Costco Vice President of Real Estate, said the site work would begin this month and it would take a few months to grade the site south of downtown Fremont before construction would begin. He said Costco's construction management team would work closely with consulting architects and engineers to oversee the project. Project manager Walt Schaefer of Lincoln Premium Poultry said Costco decided to move forward on the project based on progress with the permitting process and on feedback from enough farmers who are interested in raising chickens. Farmers who want to put up chicken barns also would need permits from their home counties. Schaefer said Lincoln Premium Poultry would make presentations to area county boards about the project and answer board members' questions. The boards likely will have questions about the type and location of the barns that would be built and about how farmers will manage the chicken waste. I would say the easy part is over, Seaver said. We have to deliver everything we said we're going to, which we will do.
Well, thank you, Jack. The time is coming up on 11:45. We'll move on to sports. And from the Lincoln Journal-Star, here's the NU and area news. Scottsbluff native Lashley wins web.com event. Scottsbluff native Nate Lashley shot a final round 66 Sunday to win the web.com Tours Corrales Punta Cana Resort and Club Championship in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, his first title on the tour. After shooting a 2-under par in the first round Thursday, Lashley was bogey-free in the next 3 rounds with scores of 65, 67, and 66 to finish 20 under, 1 shot ahead of Augusto Nunez, who started the 4th round tied for 5th, 2 shots behind co-leaders Rafael Campos and Kyung Hoon Lee. Campos finished in a tie for 3rd, 2 shots back with a 70, and Lee fell to 4 shots behind in a tie for 8th. I've been hitting it well all week, Lashley said on PGAtour.com. I had a lot of putts the first 3 days that could have went in, but today I just got a couple of them to fall. The top 25 money winners each year on the web.com tour receive a PGA Tour card for the following season. With Sunday's win, Lashley jumped from 24th to 2nd in the money rankings. Former Huskers Brady Schnell and Scott Gachewski finished in a tie for 16th with 7 others at 274. And in baseball, the Lincoln Salt Dogs pitching staff dominated in a 2-0 exhibition win over the Sioux City Explorers on Sunday night at Plum Creek Park in Seward. Brent Dean hit an RBI single, and Brandon Jacobs hit a solo home run for Lincoln. Cesar Valera tripled and scored on Dean's single to right to break up the scoreless game. The next Salt Dogs exhibition game is 6:45 p.m. Friday at Lawson Park in Waverly. Lincoln plays the Kansas City T-Bones. The Salt Dogs regular season home opener is May the 25th against the Cleburne Railroaders. Here's Jack.
Thank you. Here's some Creighton U basketball in the middle of spring.
Yeah.
But we keep us going, I guess. Creighton's newest front court addition isn't afraid to put the ball on the floor or step out for an open jump shot every now and then, but that's not what he hopes opponents remember most about him once the game is done. Graduate transfer Manny Suarez wants to hustle, dive, mash, battle, whatever it takes to leave the impression that his 6'10", 240-pound kid from New Jersey won't give you anything easy. I'm not the most athletic person in a group, I know, but the one thing I pride myself on is being a blue-collar kid, the person who will try to outwork everybody else. I try to base my mindset like that. I want other players to be like, man, he plays extremely hard. He plays tough. Mentally, it'll be the mentality he'll carry to Creighton's campus next month. That way, he's not thinking about the difficulty of the upcoming adjustment period. The former Division II player will start regularly facing high-caliber talent while trying to mix with a new team in his first extended stay away from the East Coast. And he's not focused on meeting outside expectations, which will be heightened considering that he is taking the roster spot of NBA-bound Justin Patton. I know it's going to be a huge challenge, he said, but I'm excited. He's not sure he could have ever sculpted anything like this, he says. It was just 2 years ago that Suarez sat in a hospital room while doctors examined his heart. He hadn't been able to gain weight, and he had trouble breathing. He was overly stressed. He said he was a part of the reason that his first season at Fordham didn't go as planned. He played in just 19 games. Turned out, Suarez says, the symptoms were related to an overactive thyroid gland. It's just been such a hard road for me, he said, but I'm Just grateful. I'm grateful that Creighton really believed in me. He's grateful, too, that his parents kept pushing him and his girlfriend kept encouraging him. His coach at Adelphi, Dave Duke, challenged him and ended up boosting his confidence. Suarez says he has gained about 30 pounds in 2 years. He's carrying himself on the court like a different guy, too, able to supplement his work ethic with some added physicality. Successful basketball experience have helped. Certainly, there was his debut at Adelphi 2 years ago when he dropped 26 points in an exhibition win against a Manhattan team that has reached the previously 2 NCAA tournaments. There were those summertime pickup games with buddies around New York City, West Coast, Rusker Park, Dickman Park. There's a YouTube video of Suarez sending fans into a frenzy as he pulled up for threes, White going toe-to-toe with Jordan Washington, who just completed his college career at Iona. This past season, Suarez increased his scoring average from 13.2 points per game to just under 17 points and picked up nearly 2 extra rebounds per game. He said he didn't join the Division II Adelphi program with the intention of transferring one day, but the improvement put him in a position to consider it upon graduation. When Georgetown reached out, he toured that campus. The visit to Creighton came last week. Being able to actually have the opportunity to visit Georgetown and to commit to Creighton, I'm just blessed, he said. He now wants to showcase his full potential, following through on the endorsement that Creighton coaches have extended his way. I hope I will live up to expectations, and I hope I do them proud. All I know is I'm going to go to the gym every day, and I'm going to work hard.
Thank you, Jack. And from the Journal Star, Husker women's hoops. Indiana guard picks NU. Leah Brown knows the Nebraska women's basketball program isn't great right now, but she's excited about what it can be and for her part in that. Nebraska had a 7-22 record last season and tied for 11th place in the Big Ten Conference. Brown, a 6'1" guard from Auburn, Indiana, who is a junior in high school, recently committed to join the Huskers. She's the third known player to commit for the Huskers 2018 class. Obviously, they're rebuilding, but I liked all the people that come to games, whether it's basketball or football or volleyball. I thought that was really cool, Brown said. Brown wants to be part of a turnaround when she comes to Nebraska for the 2018-19 season. A big thing is I want to help with the championship and bring them to the University of Nebraska, Brown said. Whatever I need to do as a teammate or a player to help accomplish that goal is what I'm going to do once I get there for sure. That's really exciting. It makes me want to go play right now and see what happens. Playing for DeKalb High School in Waterloo, Indiana, Brown averaged 23 points per game this season and earned second-team All-State honors. Brown's other offers included Xavier, Western Michigan, IUPUI, I don't know what that is, and Belmont. Brown has visited Nebraska before, getting a scholarship offer from Coach Amy Williams. So once she got that offer, she knew right away that's the school she wanted to attend. The Nebraska coaches just seemed really genuine when they were telling me about the program, Brown said. You can just tell by talking to Coach Williams how passionate she is about the team and the school and just everything about Nebraska. And just the way they play, I feel like, especially when I'm there, we can push the ball really well and get some transition points. Here's Jack.
Thank you, Bill. I'm trying to look for the other part of the article. I know it's here. Well, we'll go for something else. It's kind of different. I'll learn something too. It's about discus. I don't know much about discus. You know much about discus?
Don't get hit by one.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah. Sam Phillips confesses he's a terrible welder in shop class. That might be the only thing the Fremont Mills senior has failed to master. Phillips has been the essence of versatility throughout his athletic and academic career at Fremont Mills. Okay. He has done Class A 1A athlete to medal in the Drake Relays this month, placing sixth, and he certainly was the only one among that group who also finished second in the 100-meter at his conference track meet, checking 11.83 seconds. The 6'2", 205-pound Northwest Missouri State football recruit leads 1A throwers in the discus by more than 10 feet, with a season best of 175 feet. He's earned all-state honors for the 8-man Knights at a utility spot. What else? Became the school's third 1,000-point scorer in basketball and carries a 93.96 grade point average, ranking second in his class of 36 students. He has never turned away from a challenge, said Jerry Christensen, the school's football coach and activities director. He just gives relentless effort at all times. He does things the right way. In the discus, Phillips has added nearly 18 feet to his season best of 157.9 of the last year, which was good for seventh in the state meet. He attributes the jump to attending the Atlantic Intensive Throws Clinic on March 11th, a nearly 9-hour session run by Brad Weimer, who coaches at Solon. Weimer breaks down the event piece by piece. A lot of spin techniques keep your upper body separated from your lower body, Phillips said. Phillips sent Weimer a video of himself at midseason and received plenty of feedback. The next meet at Griswold, he broke the school record with his personal best heave. I like it because not everybody can do it. You can go big and go strong and get stood up, be able to throw the discus. It's not an easy thing to do. It's something you really got to work at to be good. Phillips also has added more than 4 feet to his best shot put of last year with a mark of 50 feet at the corner conference meet. Throwing is in the Phillips family genes. His mother, Annie, held her high school's discus record for about 30 years. And on weekends, when he was in junior high school, he would take Sam to the school to throw. Older brother Spencer was a 3-minute state discus qualifier, placing 5th as a junior. Sam is a third of Brett and Annie Phillips' 4 children. Seth played football at Northwest Missouri State, and Spencer will be entering his sophomore season as a defensive end in the Bearcat program. Sophie is a sophomore multi-sport athlete at Fremont Middle School. My parents never said no when it came to sports, Sam Phillips said. We were always a real competitive household. Sam was in 7th grade when Seth and Spencer helped the Knights to the 2011 8-man state championship with an 81-0 thrashing of Murray in the finals. Going to the UNI Dome I was picturing me and my class on that field. Bill?
Yeah, thank you. From the Journal Star, inspired Lickteig, L-I-C-K-T-E-I-G, wins back-to-back Lincoln marathons. Casey Lickteig may have been out of breath moments after crossing the finish line at the 40th Lincoln Marathon, but she still had the energy to scream and cheer. Only the excitement was not for herself after winning the race for the 2nd consecutive year. She was cheering a man in a wheelchair who was finishing the race well within reach of the other runners inside Memorial Stadium. That's got to be so hard. That is wonderful. That's inspiration, she declared. Lickteig's effort was impressive enough. The 30-year-old from Omaha finished with a time of 2 hours, 45 minutes, 32 seconds for an average pace of 6.20 per mile. That's bested her time from last year by more than 3 minutes. She said that her personal record for a marathon, which she set in 2011, was 2.44.14. But Lickteig, originally from Dannebrog, Nebraska, said her motivation comes from everyone participating in the Lincoln Marathon. Everyone out here doing this is an inspiration because everybody's working just as hard no matter what level you're at, Lickteig said. And so to be out here running and being with this kind of community atmosphere is just inspiration. She said that one runner in particular served as inspiration for Sunday's race. Her friend, 41-year-old Christy Nielsen, also from Omaha, ran in her 50th marathon and finished sixth with a time of 3:03.24. Kudos to 50 marathons, Lichtag said. She's amazing. The Lincoln Marathon staff also makes the experience an enjoyable one, according to Lichtag. Nancy Sutton-Moss, race director, and everyone that's a part of the race and the course means so much to me, she said. Lichtag finished 9.49 ahead of second place Shannon Suing, who posted a time of 2:55.21, but Lichtag said she never let her lead distract her on the course. I really never anticipate winning until it's 0.2 to the finish, said Lichtag. You can never underestimate anything that can happen. Never get greedy. All the runners had the benefit of good weather Sunday morning, a contrast to last year's windy and rainy conditions. Lichtag, who is a physical therapist, said she feels good and would not need any of her own work after the marathon. In fact, she felt good enough to hit the course again, this time as a spectator. Her celebration for coming in first place was going to start with cheering on her friends who were still on the course. The time?
12 o'clock noon it is there,
Yes,
Bill.
sir, it sure is.
Been good reading to you good people out in the Midlands and being with you, Bill, and Paul in the station in the control room. And we'll talk to you again next time.
Certainly will. By the by. Okie dokie. Yeah, I think he's on top of it. I think he's on top of it. I'm better than
Oh,
that.
so yeah.
Oh,
Are you a crossword person?
yeah.
We're pretty good at it.
No, I like them. I don't like too much of a degree of difficulty. I mean, you can get into some of those.
Oh, yeah, you can say, is it LA or New York who has
Oh,
the
yeah, LA is,
big one? Yeah.
you need all kinds of reference materials
Yeah.
and current stuff,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Joyce does it, and she must have 3 or 4.
Oh, yeah. That's
I mean, and that's how she started out, and she's done it for years. She would do it, and then she'd get tired of it or something, and then lay off for a couple months, whatever it happened to be,
Mhm.
starting up again. So she's on it. Yeah, she's back doing crosswords again right now. Yeah,
There's a method to it, that's for sure.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, there is. Yeah, never did go. I tried out this. Is it Sutco or something like that? Sutco, where you.
Oh,
I don't see how
can't
that can't be possible. I can't put 3 number
yeah, there it
number
is.
4s, whatever.
Sudoku.
Yeah, Sudoku.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
right.
Of
Yeah,
course,
I don't see that. That's possible.
I had a hell of a time with basic math. So I got no imagination like algebraic.
Well, this is. I mean, I don't know. I even make them up.
No, I just,
Like this, you can't. Well, you can't have a 4 in this column or that column, can you?
I think not.
Something like
and
that.
people just tear into the damn thing.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, if that's the biggest thing you have to overcome, I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Let's see what we got here.
You had a good week?
Oh, yes. So far it's been enjoyable. Nothing's, our daughter and her husband and their daughters are moving from Washington State to Washington, D.C. Right, Burke, Virginia. Yeah,
They're gonna stop here overnight in your place?
a couple days. Yeah, and they've got 3 dogs. And we've got a dog. That's not going to be a good thing.
Oh, yeah, but you have this big amount of land out there. Can't you get leashes or ropes?
That's what we'll have to do. Yeah.
I mean, something like that. You can't have 5 dogs running through the house. I mean, I couldn't at least.
No, hell no. My wife was concerned.
Mm.
She said, now remember, your sister has a fenced-in backyard
Oh, yeah.
with a dog.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do there. But it's just a couple days. They're pulling a boat, and they've got 3 cars.
3 cars.
So
Well, how do you deal with 3 cars and 2 people?
their children. Their daughters are gonna be driving them. Yeah.
Was it a job situation that?
Yeah, he's in the Navy and he got.
Oh, yes, okay.
I don't know if it's a promotion, but he's going to be working right outside the Pentagon in an outlying building. He's a captain in the Navy.
Oh, that's right up there.
Oh, he's a wonderful success. And, I always tell this story, but when he was nice enough to ask me for my daughter's hand. And while we were talking about, I, of course, didn't know him all that well.
Mhm.
He said, yeah, I want to be either an admiral or the president of the United States.
Wow. Okay.
Really?
I'd be satisfied either way.
Yeah.
I guess.
And he's still trying, but it's really tough. They're trying to cut back on all kinds of things in the branches of the service. And
So has he been a captain of the Navy short period of time?
no,
or?
he's been about 4 or 5 or 6 years, I think. He's
Oh,
had
okay.
several submarines, attack submarines.
Oh, that's
Where's
that's
that?
his.
Main man on the whole damn thing.
Oh, yeah.
A crew of hundreds. It's just amazing. I mean, he's a wonderful kid.
Yeah.
Went to Annapolis right out of high
Oh,
school.
he did. Oh, wow, he is. Boy, he's
And
marked
he
for
said-
success. He got it.
He was just really lucky to live he lived in Vermillion, South Dakota. He said, coming from South
Mhm.
Dakota, there weren't that many people that wanted to be in the Navy. So you
Oh,
talk
yeah.
to your senators and your congressmen and you
Oh, yeah.
got it, they would give you a recommendation.
Oh,
And
okay.
he said, it was just like it fell into my hands. It was really wonderful.
That is. That is.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, my choice is, see, your brother? No, here, her brothers, it'd be her brother's sons, whatever that is.
mm-hmm.
And I think he taught at the Navy Academy. I think that's what he did, because he was, I know it was at the school, I know it was at the Naval Academy.
Oh, for gosh sake, Annapolis, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he taught there. So he got out of the Navy. He lived in Omaha. Oh, he was in the medical part of the Navy.
Oh, yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah, so he was,
Start out
Yeah.
with a big jump.
so he was one of the administrators at Children's Hospital here in town
Oh, yeah.
for about 4 or 5 years. And he moved, and then probably about a year ago or so, he moved to Des Moines. He's originally from Iowa.
Oh,
So there was an opening in some hospital in Des Moines, so he took it.
oh, for gosh sakes, yeah.
Yeah. And the other guy knows it. I think he was a captain when he left the Navy.
I wouldn't doubt that, yeah.
Yeah, because he was,
They get a lot of respect.
yeah. And then our assistant pastor is a retired Navy captain in the chaplain corps.
Uh-huh.
And he was he was a chaplain of one of the aircraft carriers.
Mm.
So he retired from there after he was 26 or 28 years in the Navy. So retired from the Navy, and he was already ordained. Okay, of course. He came here. He thought, well, how did it work out? He thought that when he became a priest, well, he already was a priest. He thought that that they wouldn't give. He's a priest here in Omaha Diocese, and they didn't think he'd be given any kind of responsibility. But he's the assistant pastor at St. Leo's.
Oh, for gosh sake.
Well,
Yeah,
and he looks and acts like a captain in the Navy.
I'll bet he does.
He's about 6'2" or 3", weighs a proportional amount. Acts that way on the altar.
That's
Nothing we don't like, but something I don't like. In fact, after he said the first or second mass, or that we went to, I was standing in the vestibule of the church afterwards talking with somebody, and we're discussing, and this is the first time that either one of us had seen him be a priest. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and the guy says, I know whether to say amen or salute him.
That's cute. Yeah. You don't know. That's Well, I guess I'm gonna head for the hill.
When they have time off, periodically, I don't know, he must have some arrangement with the pastor. I don't know but he has a condo down in Florida.
Oh.
So periodically, when he has time, where he can be away from here for a week or more, like during the summertime, that's where he goes. He goes down.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's got a nice
over the Christmas. Yeah,
a nice retirement from the Navy, and then he picks up a little cash from the
exactly,
church.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, he paid his dues, but
yeah, he did.
He's reaping what he has sowed.
Very much so.
Oh, I got to go. I'm starving to death. I'll see you next week.
Okay, Bill. You have a good week now.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Our little friend is gone already.
Mother's Day is this weekend.
Oh, yes, it is. Well, our kids are coming over to our house. They're just going to bring the food.
Nice.
Do it that way. So
That's good for you and for your wife. Enjoy all that.
Okay, bye.
All right.